We all know we should be networking, but none of us seem to be any good at it. Traditionally, developers are not known for their networking skills, not unless there's a router and a cable involved anyway. Let's face it, many of us have spent a lifetime avoiding connections, so the last thing on our minds is cultivating more of them. More recently, most of us consider networking connections to be a vanity metric. What's the point in all this anyway? Do we really see value at the other end? Well, that's an interesting turn of phrase. Do we see value at the other end? Now, that implies that we're putting in value and we expect to see a return on our investment. Well, let's look into that. How much of ourselves did we actually invest? For most people, networking is, a like here or a single word comment like nice over there. I mean, how much ROI were you expecting? Our expectations are all wrong. What we consider to be an acceptable amount of commitment and effort, and what we expect is the ROI coming out of it, are completely out of balance. Consider the relationships you have outside of work. Your friends. I do a good deed for you, you do a good deed for me. It's a value exchange. That's how it works, right? Well, not really, not if you're honest with yourself. Long before that exchange of value began, you were building up a relationship, you were building up trust. And if you're expecting that same level of trust from someone you hardly even know, you're dreaming. You can't skip the trust building exercise. It doesn't work. So how do you build trust? Well, you have to provide the other person with real value. The problem is you can't ever know what they consider real value to be. And I'm guessing a like or a one-word comment on someone's post is never going to elevate you to best friend status. You have to add real value, and it has to be value to the other person, not just what you think is real value. You might think the daily content that you're posting is of real value to everybody. It isn't. At least it's unlikely. Don't get me wrong, it's a good place to start. You're letting people in, you're letting people get to know you without any expectation. You're building a foundation of sorts. At that stage, you need to stop caring about the ROI. You're opening yourself up, and if you receive likes and shares and things like that, bonus. If you receive some negativity, try and turn it around. Try and think, what is this person trying to teach me? How can I learn from this? I admit it's harder than it sounds. But the next step is to start interacting with other people's content. But whose content? It's time to start thinking, who is your audience? This is where most developers make mistakes. We make content for other developers. Now, don't get me wrong, this could be worth doing. If you want to build a network of other developers, that's probably the way to go. But if you're looking for a job, then shouldn't your audience be recruiters or employers? Well, that makes sense. But what content do they want to see? I don't know anything about recruiters and employers. So let me tell a little story about employers and recruiters. I believe they're nervous, or that's the way I like to think about them. No manager wants to be that person that makes the wrong hire, hires someone who's no good at the job and is an embarrassment to them as a reflection of their ability to judge a developer. It's embarrassing on a number of levels. It can cost them money, but it can also cost them time, which again equals money. So what do they do to make sure that this never happens? They reach out to recruiters. Now, let's say it's an Elixir role, and the recruiters only heard of Elixir about 15 minutes before this call started, which is likely. Now, they don't want to put forward the wrong developer. They've only just got over the embarrassment of putting forward a Java developer for the JavaScript role from a few weeks ago. They can't afford another epic fail on that size. So the search begins, and everyone's going to fake it until they make it. So let's go back a bit. What does the recruiter want from you? Some help? Some confidence, maybe? Well, why don't we try and deliver both? So in terms of your profile, a recruiter gains confidence knowing that you're a solid choice. But you can't just tell them this. This has to come from evidence. So you can write a profile that doesn't just demonstrate that you're skilled, but it shows that this is not just a job for you. This is a passion. Now that builds confidence. Now the recruiter's happy to put you forward. Now the manager's happy to hire. It's win-win-win. Win, if you get me. Now let's think a little bit longer term. You come across a post somewhere on social media and it's looking for a Java developer specializing in React. Perfect. Now you see the error, you have a little chuckle, but don't join the rest of the world in berating the recruiter. Why not politely, privately, and professionally contact the recruiter and tell them, hey, you might have made a little bit of a mistake here, and tell them it's not Java, it's JavaScript. candidate. Now, the recruiter will pretend like they knew this all along, but now you've made a friend. And what do you know? They're a recruiter and they trust you. But if we try another real-world example, what if the job advert talks about a requirement for DynamoDB? And what if you message them, again, privately, and you said, hey, I see the requirement for DynamoDB, but what about other NoSQL databases? Would experience with MongoDB suffice? Now, maybe this is not your field at all, but you're helping the recruiter. You're telling them that by opening this search up to different technologies, they'd have access to a much wider audience for this job. You're helping them. Suddenly, you're the expert on all things tech, and you have a friend. This is powerful stuff, I'm telling you. Lastly, going back, if you want to connect with more developers, instead of a like and a share, which is always welcome, can you read their post? Are they telling you about something they're stuck on or about their latest project? Can you try that project? Can you test things out? Can you offer advice? Can you invest your time? Can you do more than you or anybody else would normally do? Because that means you're standing out. That's notable, and that's how relationships are formed. You've given something without expectation of anything in return. So what do we know? Networking is about building quality relationships, and relationships take time. More importantly, relationships take effort. But before you can begin that value exchange, you've got to build up some credit. Insincere exchanges and taking shortcuts usually do more harm than good. So be a bit more targeted. Find your audience first. Who do you really want to connect to, and why? Then consider, what do they want, and start giving it to them as often as you can. If it's recruiters you're after, then remember, you can help them by helping yourself, really. So thanks again for joining me. I hope that I've offered you a different approach to networking, because I see that people are out there trying to do it, but maybe they're just working in the wrong angle, going off at the wrong tangent. So maybe I've given you a few things to think about. If you like the content, then you know what to do. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, and I hope to see you next time. Look after yourselves.